everybody, and welcome back to another great edition of my Grue Rume Show. And for the Grue Rume Show today, I got a very cool guest, and I used to love the show that she starred in called Step by Step. And I'm talking about Christine Lakin, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with her about the television show. And she's done a lot of other stuff besides the television show. So I'm sure a lot of you probably don't know that. So I'll get into it a little bit with her, like the other stuff she did besides the show. I am Rocco Cross. I am the host at Stutters. I am the host of the Grue Room. And my interview with Christine will be coming up very soon. This is my Grue Room, and as always, welcome to my nightmare. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for doing this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. So, like the first question I want to start asking you, typical question I usually start with is what you started to act at like a very young age. I think I read somewhere on the internet you started to act around age 8. Like what what drew you to want to act? Like how did you know that was like the thing you wanted?
For me, I don't know if this is other people's experience, especially at a young age. I think when you're
Hmm.
older, you choose it maybe, or you're inspired and then you go towards something. At such a young age, it's like, how do you know you like soccer? How do you know you want to dance? You just start doing it, right?
True,
And
true.
like for me, I was always on the smaller side. Like I wasn't going to be great at team sports. I was always kind of the runt of the litter, as it would be, in gym class or anything like that. So my mom got me really involved in dance because that was a physical activity that I could do that I liked. It was, something, a way to meet friends and have community. And really, I had been basically putting on shows for my family from the time I was 3 or 4. I had a record player that had a microphone connected to it. I loved
Nice.
musicals. I watched the movie Annie over and over again. I
Yeah.
emulated Carol Burnett. Like I wanted
Oh,
everything to
nice.
do with that kind of stuff. So you couldn't like stop me, really. I think it was more that I was already doing it. And my mom was basically like, maybe we should find her a class. She seems to like the things. So we moved to Atlanta. My mom started me up in a new dance program. I saw on the marquee, it said drama. I was like, what's drama? My mom tried to kind of explain what acting class meant. I was like, oh my gosh, I found my people. Like for me, I was just like, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. Where are these people and how do I get involved? And so she put me in classes, and then that slowly just started to open doors in terms of like the other side of it, which was the
Hmm.
professional side. And people would ask her, does your daughter, is she in the entertainment industry? Does she do commercials? I would like to represent her. Could you take her out on this commercial audition? I know a casting director. It was just like door after door kind of opening. And my parents were sort of like, I don't know. I don't know that that's our thing. And that's like not our vibe. We're not stage parents. We don't do that kind of, but I just loved it so much. So it was sort of became an experiment at age 6. And I started to
Wow.
go out for a few commercials just locally, like local stuff in Atlanta. And
Mhm.
before we knew it, I had booked 3 or 4. And my parents were kind of like, well, like she seems to like it. I guess this is our thing now. So I really fell into that side of it. And so I don't
Wow.
know. I think I had to re-choose it as an
Yeah.
adult. But as a kid, it was just all fun and games. It was like being told, "Oh yeah, you're great at soccer. Now you're on this team. Now you're going to play on club team. Now you're going to the pros." And you're like, "Yeah." You're just like along for the
Exactly.
ride.
Yeah. And I see you also did a lot of different plays like as a kid, and from what I see like you're still doing them yet. Is there any play you had the most fun with?
Oh yeah. I mean, I did a lot of stage growing up, a lot of theater. And then in my 20s, I kind of refound theater again with a theater company. And we did a
Okay.
lot of really fun like mashups. Like we would do, it's a Troubadour Theater Company, shout out. we would do like popular like music with Shakespeare. So it was like Much Ado Doobie
Nice.
Brothers about nothing, right? Or like Romeo Hall and Juliet Oates. um, and it was all really ridiculous and like breaking the fourth wall and just, so much fun. So I had a lot of fun doing those. And then I saw a show in New York called Silence the Musical, which you'll
Mhm.
appreciate. It was a farce, a parody, a musical based on Silence of the Lambs.
Oh,
And it was so funny and dark and hilarious. And it's exactly what you would think
well,
if you
yeah.
took Silence of the Lambs and made it a musical, but funny. And I was like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, I've got to play that. If that ever comes to LA, like, I got to get an audition. Found out it was coming to LA. I wouldn't, I begged, I got an audition for that thing and I won that part. So I played Clarice Starling on
Oh my
stage.
God, get out.
Yeah. And Hannibal Lecter was played by Davis Gaines, who had been the Phantom, like for millions of performances, and it had
Oh,
lots of New York people in it. I mean, it was so much fun. But I treated as an actor, I treated that role really seriously because
yeah.
that's what I felt was part of the humor of it. Was that everyone else was doing crazy things and singing hilarious songs, like I Can Smell Her, you know what, in a dream ballet, but it was, I mean, it was all really funny. But I, as Clarice, like took it really seriously. So I must have watched that movie like 2 dozen times.
Oh my God.
I studied Jodie Foster, like got the voice down, like the whole thing. And I loved doing it every single night. I loved doing it. It was so much fun.
That was an amazing film, though. Like, I mean, you just said her, her, her role in it was amazing, and Anthony Hopkins, come on, like like
Yeah,
he played that role to the T.
he did. It's still a chilling movie, even after all those years.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
really
it's
good.
crazy. and and like everyone around my age, like I know every week, every time I would get done school, I would look forward to T TGIF. Like that was like the thing I would look forward to every single week, and all the shows that were on it. Do you remember the theme song for that?
For Step by Step. Oh,
For
or for
for
TGIF.
yeah, for TGIF.
You know, now that you mention it, I haven't thought about that in a really long time. But there was like a theme song for the
there
night,
was
wasn't it? It was
there was
it
a
was
theme song
something
every
something
Friday night. Yeah.
something said TGIF. That's all I
Yes,
remember.
yes,
But I remember
yes.
the blocks that would come
Uh-huh.
down. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, but here's the funny thing, like I was a fan, I was like
Hmm.
a super fan. So I watched
Okay.
Boy Meets World, I watched Perfect Strangers, I watched Full House, like I watched it all. And then I got this great opportunity to audition for this show and
Hmm.
didn't think anything of it, honestly. Got it, you know, did the pilot, thought everyone was like, oh, they'll replace you any minute. Like you didn't like ever like think through these things, and then found out it was going to go. And, the show was obviously Step by Step and it was going to go. And then I found out it was going to be on the TJF lineup. And
Yes.
I like died. I was like, this is like the peak of my life. I am this audience. I
Uh-huh.
love this. I grew up watching this, and now the
Yeah.
show that I randomly got on is going to be on it. Like it was emoji mind explosion.
Yeah, right.
It fully was. It was like the best. Yeah.
And how did you wind up booking the role for that to play Al on Step by Step?
It was such a fluke. I say there's so many times, especially in this business, but in life too, where
Hmm.
like preparation and opportunity meet. And then there's like a little bit of luck involved too, right?
Oh yeah,
So
of course.
yeah. So I had been in Atlanta. I've been doing the commercials, a couple of TV movies, my theater company, just being a
Hmm.
kid, doing the thing. And then I was sort of spotted by an agent doing theater in South Georgia So they talked to my mom if you're ever in LA, and it was like one of those pipe dreams. It's like, well, we're not moving to Los Angeles to go do a
Yeah.
bunch of auditions, but maybe we'll keep in touch and forever out there, we'll see. So a year goes by, my mom decides to take me out for my spring break because all my
Mhm.
dance friends were going on a Hollywood trip and they were all going to see all the sights of Hollywood, but I couldn't go. My spring break was different. So my mom, I was
Oh,
so upset. So my mom made it up to me and she said, I'll take you and we'll go do that. And you know what? We'll call up that agent. We'll go on a few auditions. We'll, whatever's out, but we're just going to take a week and just go have fun. So we did. And when I met the agent, we did some auditions. She said, well, I can't really represent you. There was no Zoom. This was in the 90s.
yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
it was like, you had to make a demo tape. So you had to
Hmm.
like make a tape of you doing like a dramatic monologue and like a funny monologue.
Oh my
And then this
God.
was going to be the thing that you would send to people and they would watch it and be like, she should come in. Like it was so archaic, but that's what we had to do. So I got this dramatic monologue all lined up and I'm crying in it. That was like my trick. I could like cry on cue. So I know how to do that. And anyway, we go to, we like film this audition. And as we're shooting it, a producer, we're on a soundstage, the
Mhm.
producer of Step by Step, Bob Boyette, and of Family Matters and Full House and all these shows, was walking, just like passing through the control booth and sees on the monitor this girl crying. And he's like, what's this about? So I was like, oh, they're just doing a favor for someone. And she's just recording a demo tape. He's like, oh, great, whatever, goes about his day. Well, cut to 2 months later, they've literally seen everybody in Los Angeles for the role of Al. They can't find the character. They had an actress. She fell through for various reasons.
Oh.
And they're like about to shoot. And he goes, wait a minute, where was that girl who was crying?
Oh my God.
Someone find me that tape. So they see the tape. And next thing I know, I'm coming home one day and I get this like call. They had called and said they want to see you tomorrow in Los Angeles for an audition. And I'm like, this is crazy. People don't do this. This is like wild.
Yeah.
And my dad at the time was traveling a lot for work. And he said,
Mhm.
certainly you don't have to go, no pressure. But if you want to go, I think I got enough like miles. Maybe we could like work something out. We could like get you a ticket quick. And, I've got these miles saved up from work. And, if you want to go do it, go do it. Like, could be a cool opportunity, something to
Yeah.
like remember, write home about. Right. So I said, okay, well, great. But you gotta like, I had plans, I had to dissect a frog in school. I was watching a friend's dog. Like I had to, so I had to give my dad all the updates. He's like, oh, got this. I got this. So we go out, my mom and I, we like book it on like a 6 p.m. flight or something, get in
Uh-huh.
super late, get to the hotel. The next morning I have the audition. I go down to a capital cities, ABC. I go upstairs. I meet Tom Miller and Bob Boyette. Don't know them. Legendary producers. I have no idea what I'm doing. Again, I'm just here for the ride. I walk
Yes.
in, hello, I like read the sides. They laugh. I leave. They said, well, that's it. So do you want to see her again? She's on a plane home tomorrow. And they go, yeah, let's see her one more time. Come back in, do it again. They laugh again. And I leave and we go to dinner and we don't hear anything. My mom's like, okay, great. We're flying home tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the phone apparently was off the hook. The agent was calling all night. They had
Oh
cast me and we
no.
didn't know. And they've been trying to get in touch with us like all night. And my mom didn't have a beeper. We weren't like, we were not fancy. So the next day, we finally get in touch and they said, yeah, you booked the pilot. This is like a Thursday, I want to say, or a
Okay.
Friday, something like that. And they said, you start work Monday. So
That
we
is
never left.
crazy.
We had one suitcase with two changes of clothes, and we were there for 2 weeks. My mom's like, I guess we're going to the mall. Buy a package of t-shirts, maybe another pair of jeans. And yeah, I was there for 2 weeks and I did the pilot. And I mean, it was wild. And
Oh my
so many
God.
people say like pilots don't go, people get recast, like don't count your
Hmm.
chickens. But like we
Hmm.
find out it's like Suzanne Summers, Patrick Duffy, Staci Keanan, like all
Yes.
these people I had watched growing up. It was like crazy, right? And then my character has this huge arc in the pilot. But if you
Yeah.
remember that pilot, Al gets appendicitis. No one believes her. And then she's sort of the linchpin at the very end. Suzanne comes in and there's this heartfelt moment. So they needed a character. They needed an actor who could play this and do the comedic beats, but they also needed someone who they felt could really like bring the emotion. And I think it was that dumb audition tape.
Oh my
But
God, that is
but can you believe like
crazy.
what a weird story, right?
I
Like that's a,
know.
to me, stories like that was out of my hands. That was in someone else's hands. That was in like
You're right. You're
someone else's
absolutely
hands.
right. Yeah. That
Because
is
sometimes that
so cool
happens.
though.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my God, just for like something like that to happen is so cool. It's lucky like the phone went back on the hook.
Yeah, seriously. Someone at that Hilton finally came in and redid something with our phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like when you walked in to that pilot, like you already like grew up like knowing Pat 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 Duffy, Suzanne Summers. So I'm guessing you watched like Dallas and Three's Company and all that, right?
Well, Patrick Duffy a little less so because I was
Okay.
12
Well,
and I
yeah.
never watched Dallas, but all my mom and my mom's friends definitely knew who he was. And I knew he was on some Western show. That's what I knew about him. But Suzanne, yeah, I watched Three's Company. I watched all the reruns on Nick at Night. And
Yes,
then,
yes.
Staci Keanan, I was My Two Dads. I was a big fan of My
Yeah.
Two Dads.
Hmm.
I may have even seen the movie Lisa by that point, and I was like, oh my god, like but it was really My Two Dads. Like she was, I grew up with her, So, and I wanted to be her. I mean, I think a
Oh
lot of
wow.
girls my age like wanted to kind of be that character for that
Yeah, yeah,
girl.
yeah.
She was cool. Yeah.
Oh wow. And then someone you grew up watching, like someone you wanted to be now, you're on set with her like every day and your family on set. And
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So wild. I just posted this picture of us filming the titles because that was the craziest part. We filmed the
Hmm.
titles of Step by Step on the roller
Yeah.
coaster and the whole thing.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
the first thing we did. That was day one.
Oh.
So we're getting there. We do like a table read, and then they're like, okay, you're going to Magic Mountain, 2 days at Magic Mountain, and then we start the pilot. But like we haven't really worked together. We're just at Magic Mountain. They're not allowing us to ride the rides because it was like a liability. I'm like, this is horrible. All I want to do is ride rides. But I'm like sitting next to Staci Keanan, and I just posted this picture today
Uh-huh.
of the two of us in the boat. It's the only
Yeah.
ride they allowed us to ride was the boat, and we come down and it splashes on
Yeah,
Suzanne Summers
yeah,
and
yeah.
Patrick Duffy. And it's like right before we only did it once, I think, because we all got
Wait,
wet.
really?
Yeah. So they had like four cameras set up, and it was just they weren't gonna, get it was like we got to get it in like one take. So, but there's this picture, and Stacy's saying something to Brandon, and I'm just looking at my mom like, what are we about to go do? This is wild. And I remember that moment like so viscerally. It's
Oh
it's
my
crazy. And I'm
God.
sitting next to her. And I'm like,
Yes,
I can't
exactly.
believe I'm sitting here. Yeah. It's yeah, it's nuts.
So like, once the pilot aired and you all came back for the show and it lasted a good while, like how was it like working like you said like being with Stacy and then you got Patrick Duffy, Suzanne Summers, like how was it like going to work every day and just like being on set with them?
I mean, it was such a great experience. Honestly, overall, I had such an idyllic, I think, childhood
Hmm.
growing up the way I did on that set. And I attribute that to the people that were around us. It all came from the top. We had the best producers, the nicest writers, the greatest crew, like, and really genuinely nice stars. So,
Yeah,
stars in
definitely.
their own rights, like big TV stars, but like humble, beautiful, wonderful, good hearted people. And I think that's where it all stemmed from. So over the years, I mean, going to work was a joy. It was a joy. It was a privilege. It was an amazing, we became like a real family. I
Hmm.
quickly stopped thinking of, Staci Keanan as like Staci Keanan. And she became like Stacy. She became like Stace,
Yeah,
like my buddy, my friend,
yeah.
Patrick Duffy was and Suzanne became like extensions of what I felt like my family was. I knew we weren't related, but we were like, it was like work mom and work dad, if
Oh
that
yeah, of
makes sense.
course.
When you're on a set and you're working as a minor, you always have a parent or a guardian or a, sometimes it'll be your welfare worker, your studio teacher. People are
Hmm.
around, right?
Hmm.
But they're kind of like up in the stands and they're watching and they're there. But you're in close contact with those people and goofing around, but also working,
Yeah.
having a great time and learning, like really learning from them in ways that are said and unsaid. You watch somebody during rehearsal do something really funny or come up with a bit or forget their lines or have this like hilarious like self-deprecating moment and everybody laughs and like but you kind of you learn about all that interaction from like watching people who were much more seasoned than yourself. And then in the later years, like Patrick actually directed a lot of our episodes. And
Oh,
so it would be funny, like you'd be standing on set and he would know where all the cameras were and he'd also be acting, and he could tell that you were just like maybe just a little bit off your mark because he knew what the shot was, and he would just kind
yeah,
of like
yeah.
slyly like pull you towards him, and you'd be like, oh, okay, got to get in the two shot. Like, he was really adept at doing all of those things at once, which was amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And you basically started on the show as this little girl, and you grew up fast on the show. And like, what was that like growing up in front of the world? You started from a little girl to an adult. Like,
Yeah. I mean, definitely unique. Don't know if I'd recommend it for everyone. Um, I mean, I loved my job,
yeah.
so I was happy to be there, and I was happy to be doing what I was doing. The sometimes 15-year-old, 16-year-old part of me had the same feelings a lot of us have in middle school and high school, where we just want to be like the same. We just want to like
Mhm.
blend in. We just want to be under the radar. And when you're on a TV show that like maybe people in your school are also the target demographic of it, you feel like it's a liability sometimes because you don't want people to think that you think you care.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like underplaying it, you know but then there's always like a kid or two from your school or like whatever just in the world, and they want to just like kind of poke and see if they can get you to like feel a certain way about it. And
Okay. Okay.
so it's kind of this fine line of like, I don't want to talk about myself, like I don't want to
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about it, like, but you also don't want to look like you're too good for it, if that makes sense.
True. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know I
Definitely.
wanted to be
Definitely.
really like, and I loved my job and I loved the show, so I wanted to be able to talk to fans and appreciate fans, but I didn't want other people to think that I was like, look at me, I got all these fans. So you know it's like how do you reconcile all of that when you're 15
Yeah, you're
or
right.
14 or 17 or whatever? So yeah, it was, there were good times and better times and hard times and awkward
Oh yeah.
times. I don't know, a little of everything,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay. And on the show, Al loves sports, and she could probably beat a lot of the guys too. So, were you actually a sports fan too? Like, were you similar to Al in any way?
I was not good at sports, like, at all. Like the only thing I could do was ski. That was the only thing I was
Okay.
good at, which like really hard to show off on a daily basis. Um, unless you live in the mountains.
True.
No, it was like not good at sports, but I loved that Al was. And like I feel
Mhm.
like vicariously almost through her and through her like confidence and the fact that she was like really kind of so badass and like didn't give a crap what people thought about her.
Exactly.
I felt like by extension, I got to feel that way at times, or I got to sort of embody what that felt like. And that felt really good. Um,
Nice.
I didn't always have like the one-liners and the swag that she did in real life,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I loved being able to play her. And I felt like we both had like a feistiness that really resonated with me. Like just because I'm smaller, just because I'm a girl, doesn't mean
Mhm.
I can, like, I'm gonna take your SHIT. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and I liked that. I thought that was like a really cool message, and it made me feel really empowered as somebody who loved that character.
And is there like a certain, like, I mean, you filmed many seasons for the show, but is there like a certain scene that you probably had the most fun doing?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many like memories when come back flooding when I think about certain episodes.
Yeah.
There's episodes we did, um like I think there was like a house party episode, and I think it's in the latter part of the first season. But basically, the parents go out of town, they leave like the older kids in the house in charge, and of course, there's like this massive party that happens, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's like the 80s or 90s movie that you always watched, like 16
Yes.
Candles, and you're like, God,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
so fun, you
Yes,
know?
exactly.
Yeah. And like that idea was really, it was really fun to shoot. We had all these extras and all these kids, and it was just mayhem.
Oh
I'm
my
sure like
God.
the director was probably losing his or her mind,
Probably,
but we were
yeah.
having a great time. um and then, I mean, there's other episodes, I remember going in our second season, I think we went to Hawaii, which was like unheard of. I can't imagine anyone ever taking an entire cast and crew to
I
a
know,
location
right?
like that. I mean, this is like network money, people. But yeah, we all went to Hawaii. We were there for, I think, 2 weeks. It was
Damn.
so gorgeous. I mean, I barely even remember the storyline, but I remember the hotel. I
Yeah.
remember the beach. I remember all the fun stuff we did. I mean, and that was pretty awesome. That was really great. And then in the later years, we did some really fun episodes that, um like, where we would all, I don't know why we were singing, but I remember there were multiple episodes where it was like Suzanne, myself, Angela Watson, Staci Keanan, like we were all singing on a stage, and they got us all these like matching glittery outfits, and it was just like such a blast. Like, Suzanne was such a, at that point, everyone knew her as being this like consummate performer. So
Yeah.
she had done Vegas, and she done, so to just be able to like be on a stage with her and sort of doing this, like, we were like the backup singers or whatever. It was a blast. It was just so cool. It was all just play, make believe. It was with the best, hair and makeup and costuming. I mean, it was really like the world was our oyster. It was fun.
Oh man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounded like a lot of fun. And you did a lot of voice work too. Like I was looking up your stuff, and I was like, wow, I said you've done a lot of things.
Done a
And
lot of things.
yeah.
I have. I know. It gets like, wait, what? I know. I don't like to be bored. You
I
understand?
see that, yes. And, and you you did voice work, like you voiced Joyce and Emily on the Family Guy. And when you're doing voices like that, like how do you find like the right voice for the role?
I don't know. That's a really good question, actually. Because so often I think it just, sometimes, like, say you're getting an audition for a voiceover, and you'll look at a rendering of what the character looks like. So that's just like the first thing you take in. Then you read all these like character traits, like might be like the character might be really fastidious, and like she's a bookworm, and she likes rules, and like there's just something that you kind of, I don't know, you kind of embody who you think this character
Mhm.
is. You try a few things. Um, I always, even from an early age, I love to mimic. So I'm really attuned to people's accents, to the way they
Okay.
speak, to the things they say, to like their mannerisms and the way they, and just the gravity of their voice, or like where it's pitched. I think that's like the singer part of me. But like some people have like a really high, they talk up here. And then there's like the vocal fry is like people, there's people that talk like that. I like, you have an accent, I can tell. I
Yeah.
can't really do yours, but I love it and I liked listening to it.
Okay.
I don't know, I like that stuff. I'm like a freak for it.
Nice.
I really regional accents, I find really
Hmm.
interesting.
Okay.
um so I've just been studying them for a long time, just as like, I don't know, it's just like a hobby, and I try to try them out, or I try to mimic people and see what comes out. So I think that's part of it. When I've done a lot of animation, but when I do audiobooks, that's where
Hmm.
I really try to differentiate people, especially if I'm not a lot's given even on the page, but you want to make sure that the listener knows that it's a different person. So
Okay.
sometimes I'll
Okay.
just come up with a different voice, or I'll be like, maybe they were from the South. Maybe they have like a little bit of something, or they're, a little bit like New Yorkish, or, like I'll come up with these ideas just to kind of give people, a character, something you can like
Yeah.
listen to and hold on to. So yeah, I don't know. I like doing that though, because there were characters I would never play in real life. I'm
Oh,
not going to play
okay.
the grizzled cop from Philly. Like, that's not, I'm not going to be the grizzled cop who's like maybe just a little overweight from Philly, like, but I love being able to, like, I got to voice that voice. What are we
Yeah,
doing here?
yeah, yeah.
Bring him into the precinct. Like that gives me great joy. I know exactly what that person looks like in my mind.
That's why I actually live in Philly.
See, I knew it. I knew it.
I know. Yeah, there's a lot of people around here to talk like that too. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's a hard accent to do, actually. It's like it's nuanced, so
Yeah, yeah.
you gotta practice it a little bit. But yeah, I go on YouTube too and I listen to people. I'm
Okay.
crazy like that, I'm weird like that, I like it.
Sylvester Stallone, like he always comes to Philly, and he has like when he comes to Philly, like he talks like Rocky. When he comes to like every time he comes to Philly to do something, like he changes his whole voice and he changes it to Rocky, and when he's talking in front of people, he talks like Rocky, and
Oh,
it's
for
so funny.
sure. But that's the thing, so I was raised in the South. If I go back, you can tell when I've just even been talking on the phone to a friend,
Hmm.
because all of a sudden there's just like a little bit of roundness in the way I speak. And oh, okay, so y'all know, like, and people are like, have you been talking to your friends here in Atlanta for the last weekend? You can't help it. It's like Madonna when she turned British. She lived in
Yeah,
England for
that's
a year. All of
right.
a sudden, she was British for a year. It's
Yes.
like, oh,
Yeah.
there's power of suggestion. I don't know what to say.
And you also voice, like I never noticed, like you voice some of my favorite video games like Star Wars, The Walking Dead, Uncharted, Medal of Honor, Warcraft. Like did you like how is doing a video game different than doing like the voices for anime?
Oh yeah, it's super different.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and mostly just because when you're doing like for instance, you go in for Family Guy. Family Guy's almost done like a sitcom.
Hmm.
So there's a table read, then you might come in a few weeks later and you're usually like doing the scene with someone. So you'll hear the other person in your ear and you're going back and forth and it reads like a
Oh,
like a scene. When you're
okay.
doing a video game, so often you don't even know what you're doing. You book a job, it's under some title that's not the real title. So you don't really know what the game even is. You don't even know what the character really is. They might give your character a fake name because everything is very
Oh,
confidential.
gotcha.
So you go in and you kind of know traits, and then they're like explaining more to you as you're there. You don't A lot of times you don't even get your copy ahead of time. You just get there and you're like, oh, okay, this is what I'm reading today. And then they're
Oh,
giving you like specific direction. And sometimes they'll say, okay, we're in a battle scene, you're looking for this thing, but it doesn't all really make sense because you haven't seen the game. You don't know what it looks like. You might know what your character looks like, you might not. So it
yeah.
feels really out of body. There were a few that were different. I mean, The Walking Dead was a little bit different because those really were more, there were more scenes within the gameplay in
Oh,
that.
okay.
And I had a little more understanding of kind of who this character was, and I had watched The Walking Dead. So I
Oh,
sort of,
okay.
I was a fan of the show. So I kind of
Nice.
knew, yeah. And I knew eventually I'd probably get killed or eaten. Um, but that was fun because that character really like went through some ups and downs, until she
Hmm.
she finally got killed. So yeah, I don't know. It's unique in that way. Yeah.
Now, did you ever play the video games that you were in? I don't know if you were like a gaming person or not. Like,
I've played a couple of the ones I was in. I have to be honest, I
okay.
didn't have all the consoles or anything. And I'm also like I told you I was bad at sports. I'm pretty bad at games too. Um I just am. Like I'm just not like unless it's Mario Kart or
Yeah.
Outrun. Like Outrun I'm really good at. But unless
Okay.
it's those two, like I like a driving game. Um but yeah, I'm not great at like shooter games. I'm just never like I remember back in the day we had a console, my ex-boyfriend, and we would try to play James Bond, and
Oh yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
have so much anxiety that I'd be like, can we just play with slappers only? That's when you didn't have a gun and you would just slap each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
He's like, you're ridiculous, get out. Like, okay. I'll be in my room playing like my computer CD-ROM games. I would be
Yeah.
playing like
Yes.
Riven
Yes.
and
I remember
Mist and
those.
stuff. That was like my speed, Riven and Mist.
Oh yeah, I definitely had those games too.
Oh, those are great. I enjoyed them.
Yes. and and like you also write and direct too. Like you do everything. You also I
Got a
saw
lot of hats.
yeah.
Just put it on all kinds of hats. Yeah.
And one of the shows like you directed a lot of episodes was the Goldbergs, and you also like one of your recent short films you directed, who am I, and what do you like about like being behind the lens instead of in front of the camera?
I've always been someone I think that has been uniquely interested, or maybe not unique, maybe it's not unique, but as an actor, I was always really interested in how television was made. I really enjoyed watching the crew and getting to know them. I loved studying the call sheet. I loved the process of it.
Hmm.
Um, it's like how I loved theater, but what I really loved was rehearsal and backstage. Like the performing was great, but the fun was like all in like the backstage because it's
Yeah.
like the camaraderie, it's the team sport. Like when you can't play a team sport and team sport becomes theater, dance, and television, all
Hmm.
you want to do is like play your sport. And I felt like at some point in my acting life, I understood how to help the team. And
Okay.
I didn't want to just be like on the bench waiting for someone to call me, I
True.
wanted to be like running the team. I wanted to be like the team manager, the team director. Like I wanted to get in there. And I also felt like at some point, and maybe this is a good sports analogy, like if you're not David Beckham, right? But
Hmm.
if you love soccer so much and you understand how it works and you know how to like help the people who do score the goals because you have all this information in your head about acting, about soccer, right? About ability, about all the things that are around you and how to make everybody like coordinate and work together. It's like you want to so badly, you want to be like that team manager or that team leader,
Exactly.
that coach. And that's how I started to feel. I felt like I didn't get the acting roles always that I was so excited about. Would get so close on so many things of roles that I just like was that I loved and I wouldn't get them.
Oh,
Or I would get a role that I really loved, but the show wouldn't go. And like those continuing like disappointments just sort of naturally led for me to start making my own lane. So I started
oh
doing that
wow.
with like writing and directing and, coming up with ideas for live shows and pitching shows and then finally I remember sitting there being like, God, I feel like I've done all these different jobs to your point. And I think I think the thing I'm supposed to be doing is directing. Like ding. It was just like a light bulb went off in my head. And for so long I don't think I realized I was headed there
Mhm.
because I didn't go to film school. So that was a big block for me. I
Okay.
thought, oh no, like I can't, I'm not, I don't know enough. Like I didn't go to film school. So that wasn't the
Yeah.
choice I made, you know?
Yeah.
And I had
Yeah.
a lot of like imposter syndrome. Like, how dare you think you can go do something like this when you don't have like a credential for it or a diploma or whatever. And then I just thought to myself, I think that's a real limiting belief. I think actually I do know more that I'm giving myself credit for. And I think I can do this job. And so it was a big leap of faith trying to, you know, make that step. And it took me I think a really long time to finally get there. But once I did, I realized like all the pieces like fit together. And I could speak the shorthand. I could make the day work. I could speak to the actors. I could tell the camera like department where I wanted the cameras. I could collaborate with people. And I just realized, oh my God, I love this so much. And I was so it was such a satisfying place to be. And it's all I ever want to do now. And I think it's
Oh
because it
wow.
challenges my brain in a lot of ways. If you're someone that likes jigsaw puzzles, this
Yes.
is the job for you because you
Oh,
have to
okay.
you're not just putting the edges together. Sometimes you start in the middle and you've got to work your way around and you have to like see the whole picture. You have to know what the whole picture is going to look like. So I love that. It's fun. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And now you're also like all the stuff you do, you're adding something else. You're gonna be a podcast host too.
I am.
And you're doing it with your friend that you talked about earlier, Stacy. So can you tell us a little bit about what the podcast is going to be?
Absolutely. So the podcast is called Keanan and Lakin Give You Deja Vu. And it's a step-by-step rewatch podcast hosted by myself and Staci Keanan. And I'm so excited. It drops Wednesday. So it drops the 28th of February. We have all of season one ready to go. We hope people will like and subscribe. And we not only recap the episodes, but we talk a lot about our experiences growing up on television and what we
Okay.
remember and what the behind the scenes were like and stories that we haven't told anyone. I mean, I grew up on television with 5 other kids who were also growing up on
That's
television.
true. That's
You can
true.
imagine the antics. You can imagine the antics that ensued. This is before social media. A lot of
Yeah.
this was not captured for everyone else. I have a treasure trove of actual photos. If you can remember what an actual
Of
photo looks
course.
like
Of
in your
course.
hand, right?
Yes.
Of like my childhood and what it was like behind the scenes. The other thing that's super interesting, and the way this came about really was because Stacy called me up one day and she was like, "Hey, I have this idea and I thought it would be really fun. Would you be into doing this with me?" And I said, "You know, with almost anyone else, I think not. But with you, yeah,
Definitely.
I say yes.
Definitely.
Like that's fun. That's unique." And the other thing about it is she's never watched the show,
Wait, really?
never saw the show, never
Not
watched it
not even one
not when it was
episode.
on, not
Oh
one
my
episode.
oh my
So
God.
this is the first time she's watching the step by step. I said, well, God, it's 30 years later. I mean, a little late to the party, Stace. But you know, it's so funny because we're so many of us are revisiting our childhoods, you know, so
Hmm.
many of these shows are now we can find them streaming. So it's not we're not in that age of like where things were not on television and you're
Oh
trying to
yeah.
like source a DVD and it's like no where do you get it? Now everything is like almost available at the touch of a button, right?
Yes,
So
definitely.
there's a lot of people who I think are like my age, maybe a little younger even, that are now showing their kids the stuff that they grew up with. And that's like bringing them a lot of joy. And we've seen obviously so many reboots come out of that sort of
Yeah.
nostalgic love. But this has just been, honestly, it's been so much fun for her and I to take that deep dive because we have such specific memories and they're very different. I was 12, like peaking,
Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
out, working with all the greats, you know, on TGIF, like my life is complete. She's 15, has already done series, has been in the industry for years, and is like, it's just another job. Here we
It's just
go.
another
Right.
job for me.
So we have completely different memories of especially the beginning. And it's really funny, like to hear her rediscover the show and be like,
Hmm.
it was actually really funny. And I'm like, yeah,
Of
you didn't
course,
know that?
yes.
She's like, I didn't. I don't think I ever realized that it was a funny show. Plus, I just get to hang out with her. So, if it's like an appointment and this is like the way that we get to like just chill on a Saturday, it's been really fun, really nice.
Wow. And I see you love traveling too. Is there any place you would love to see that you haven't seen yet?
Oh gosh, another good question. Yeah, I've been to a lot of fun places, less so since I had kids and then COVID
Well,
kind
yeah.
of took a derailment from traveling. I I've always wanted, I mean, I've never been to South America. I think that would be really cool, really unique.
Hmm.
And I've been to Japan, but I would like to go back. That's the
I
only,
always wanted to see that.
oh, Japan is so beautiful. And just really just amazing. And I've been to Thailand, but I would like to see more of like
Nice.
Indonesia. And I'd like to
Yeah.
travel through there. I think that would be really fun. And yeah, so hopefully more travel in the future. But there's so many places even in the US I've never been. So who knows? Maybe if people want to listen to the podcast, maybe we'll end up doing some sort of live thing and we'll get to see more of America. I mean, it'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And what about like foods? What kind of foods do you like to eat?
Oh, if I could probably only pick one thing, it would be pizza. Pizza is
Pizza,
definitely,
yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Pizza
Yeah.
is my favorite. I'm the like on Fridays we order in
Same, same.
sometimes,
That's
and
me.
I'm the one that always wants to get pizza, but I get outruled by we have a place called Home State, and everybody in my family likes that too, which is burritos and
Oh,
tacos, and
okay.
I'm into that too. I like that. Um, I'm also a sushi lover. I love sushi.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
And then I grew up in the South. So, you can take like the barbecue out, but you can't take the girl away from the barbecue. Like I love all the Southern food. I miss it like tremendously. So I try to get that in whenever I can.
Yeah, like that was like my thing. Like I was telling you, as a kid watching TGIF on Fridays, that like my parents would order a pizza and we would have soda with the pizza and watch the whole T TGIF night. And but oh my god, what great times that was, like pizza,
Yeah.
soda, and comedy.
I mean, I feel like you and I had very similar Friday nights growing up. It was like having friends over after dance. Like, what do you want to watch? TGIF. What do you
Yes,
want to eat?
yes.
Pizza.
Yeah, definitely.
Pizza Hut on speed
Pizza
dial.
Hut,
Like, let's
yeah.
go.
Nice. and and what about music? Like what kind of songs are on your playlist?
Oh man. Well, lately it's been a lot of T Swift. A lot of T Swift in our house. I got a little Swifty, so we enjoy that together.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes around. But I don't know, we've been playing a lot of Lizzo. We've been playing, my husband is like he likes to listen to a lot of the older classics.
Hmm.
So there's always a rotation of classic music happening. So it's not classical like classic rock. Like there's always like some Doobie Brothers or some Tom Petty or,
Oh, nice.
Grateful Dead or Fish. Like that's always kind of going on until I'm like, I can't take it anymore. We've been on this song for 40 hours. It's too much jam. And then I have to turn it. But yeah, we're going to see the boss. The boss is coming
Bruce
to LA,
Springsteen.
so gotta go see the boss.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so we're going to see him pretty soon, which I'm stoked about.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. So he got COVID last year, poor guy. So he had to postpone. We were supposed to go last year,
Oh
but yeah,
no.
I know. So he had to postpone. But anyway, I saw Coldplay live. They were amazing. They do an amazing show. So I try to get out to concerts as much as possible. I
Oh
really
yeah,
love
I love
seeing the live
those.
music.
Oh
So
my
good,
god.
right?
It is. It's great. It's
Yeah, best
so
thing.
so if you were gonna do a karaoke song, what do you think you would sing?
Oh, well, listen. Okay, I just had my birthday last month
Okay.
and we had a house party because I'm like can't get away from the 90s. I just want everything to be a house party because that's the most fun. So I was like, it's a house party, people. I'm not feeding you food, but there'll be some snacks and like bring a bottle. Let's go. So I set up karaoke in our yard. And I wasn't sure if we'd get people there because sometimes people just like to corral and they don't want to. Got everybody down there, and there was some major karaoke vibes, and I was really enjoying it. My latest karaoke song, because I rotate and I try new things. I've been doing a lot of Alanis Morissette lately.
Oh,
I'm back in
okay.
the '90s vibe. So
Yeah.
I like Hand in My Pocket. Hand in My Pocket is my go-to. But there was some Spice Girls that night. There was some Salt and Pepper that night.
Ooh,
Yep, there were a couple country songs. So, I
nice.
like to throw it
Nice.
down whenever possible. Yeah, not above it.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And I'm the horror guy, and every time I have someone on, I ask them this: Are there any horror movies that you like to watch?
Well, I would count myself in the probably more of the psychological thriller category.
Okay.
So I would say like the first scary movie that I ever watched, I think was Gremlins.
Oh
And it
yeah, yeah.
scared
I
the
love that movie.
bejesus. It scared the bejesus out of me because they're so cute until they're not.
Yes.
And like the gremlin in the blender, like I was like, oh God, oh my God, like nightmares. But the funny thing is, my daughter, so she's having a birthday next month, and all
Okay.
she wants to do is watch Gremlins. And I'm like,
Really?
okay. I mean, I also feel like it's so old now. Like, is it as scary as it once was? It's like
Yeah.
it's like watching Jaws. Like Jaws is a
Yeah.
classic. Jaws is a great
Definitely.
movie. But
Definitely.
are we actually scared of that shark? I don't
I
know that we're
know.
scared of that anymore. And also, we've seen it 100 times. Like we've been to Universal Studios. Like we've seen it, so we know it's not real. So
Exactly.
yeah. But my favorite one, I mean, I have some really, I loved all the Scream movies
Oh
back in the
yeah.
day. I loved like the Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, like
Yes.
all of those movies that are like kitschy horror. That's sort of like my genre. But in recent years, I would probably put like Get Out,
That was
Parasite,
really good. Yes.
and then my favorite one of this year, which I count as a psychological thriller, was Saltburn, which
Oh
I
yeah,
did
yeah,
not
yeah. Okay.
did
Okay,
not see
yeah.
that ending coming. Really enjoyed that one. Spoiler alerts, everyone. It's good.
And I saw you were even in a horror film, right?
I have been. Yes, I was. Are you referring to Red Canyon or which
Wait,
one?
that the Bolt Necker, I think it was.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I did one called Bolt Neck with Ryan Reynolds way back in the day. It was sort of like a quasi take on like a Frankenstein type
Yeah, yeah.
type tale. And then I was in one with Norman Reedus called Red Canyon. And that was
Oh,
probably more psychological. Yeah, that was more of a psychological thriller, I think. Independent
oh
film,
wow.
But yeah, we shot that out in the middle of nowhere in Utah.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah, it was beautiful and creepy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful during the day and creepy at night.
That's right. That's right. No one to
And
hear you scream.
yeah, exactly. And are there any things coming up for you that you want to plug? Like any shows you're doing, anything else you're doing? Like,
Yeah. So the podcast comes out on the 28th, which is super fun. Stacy and I are going to be promoting it at the Hollywood Show, which is a con in Burbank this weekend. And then almost the entire cast, many of us, are going to be at 90s Con in March. And so that's going to be in Hartford, pretty close to you, actually, not too far. And that will
I'm
be
actually
March 5th.
going to that.
Yeah.
I
You're
am.
going
I'm
to
going to
see
that.
us. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that'll be the 15th to the 17th of March. And it's going to be myself, Stacy, Angela Watson, Jason Marsden, Patrick Duffy, Sasha Mitchell, Brandon Call, Chris Castile. I think I named everybody. Yeah. But it'll be the first time all of us have been together at
I
something like this.
know.
So that's going to be
You know,
sweet.
that was the reason why I wanted to go. Like when I saw, like at first I was like, I don't know if I want to go, and then I saw like they were doing like a step by step cast thing, and I was like, Oh my God, I have to go. To it's a shame Suzanne Summers passed, because she probably definitely would have been there.
I know, and her passing was such a hard thing for so many of us, and
Hmm.
yeah, it was so sudden in many ways, and I don't
Oh yeah,
think
I know it was.
anyone was prepared for that.
No,
And if anything, like things like that, they remind us that life is short, and we all spent a really incredible time in our lives together, and that was a
mhm,
big part of, I think, all of our lives. And so I think it's really special that like everybody's kind of getting together and
definitely.
having a hug and having a memory, and it all means something. So yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
excited to be there.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm really excited for it too. It's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait to see you there. That's gonna be
Yes.
great.
And I guess the last thing I will ask you is, where can fans follow you at?
Oh yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Yo Lakin. That's my name on Instagram. And you can follow us at Keenan and Lakin for the podcasts. And I'm on Facebook too. I'm the one that's verified. I don't know. It's Christine Lakin verified. I don't know. Guys, I don't get Facebook. I don't know how to work it. I'm old. I don't understand things, but I do my best.
well, well, thank you so much for this. Like, it was really awesome meeting you and chatting. I mean, like, this has been great. Like, I was a kid, watching the show every week, and it's so awesome to actually chat with you. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, same here. Same here. Thank you so much. You have such a great vibe, and it's been so fun to chat with you. And I'm so excited I get to see you in a couple of weeks in real life.
Yes, definitely. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm definitely there. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. It's gonna be great. That's great.
All right. We'll definitely have a great night. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.